series of articles is Who Am I? In this article series, I talk about boundaries, about knowing where I begin, where other people end, where they end, and where I begin. This allowed me to be able to realize that I'm not the center of other people's universe. They need to be separate from me, and I need to be separate from them, that they can take responsibility for their choices, actions, words, and the way that they treat and interact with other people, as well as I can take responsibility for what I do and I encounter in my relationships with other people. And the next article is Whose Shame Are You Carrying? In this article, I talk about what's really important in terms of not carrying other people's shame. When people are not able to deal with their feelings and they are uncomfortable for them and they feel shame about them, instead of dealing with them, people can project their shame or their anger or their feelings of, say, inferiority onto other people. And that's called a shame transfer. In transactional analysis, it's called passing the hot potato. If I don't want to deal with my issues, I can make somebody else responsible for them, or give the illusion that somebody else is responsible for them. But the reality is that I have to own my issues, and other people need to own their issues, and that's what makes for a healthy relationship. The next article is called Don't Talk, Don't Trust, and Don't Feel. In families where there is dysfunction, there are three main rules: don't talk, don't trust, and don't feel. When we don't talk, we aren't able to process things. When we don't trust, we're not able to learn how to trust ourselves, a loving God, or our processes, because we're so dependent upon what we think other people want us to be. And in this article, I talk about how to get free from the beliefs, the distorted notions that don't talk, don't trust, and don't feel involved. I believe that it's very important to process our feelings. I believe we get wounded on the body, soul, and spirit level, that we need to be healed on each one of those levels. I believe that feelings are guides that teach us about how to heal, because it shows us where we were damaged or where we were hurt. So as we process our feelings through journaling, through going to support meetings, talking about them, having trusted friends that have also gone through the process of us, processing their feelings for the pain and the anguish or the abuse or trauma or the adversities that they've had in their life. What this does is it allows us to find freedom and comfort in who we are, and thereby being able to identify with one another, which creates a tremendous amount of freedom. It allows us to come out of alienation, feeling alienated, and move beyond the confinement that isolation brings upon us. The next article is the three rules revisited. We talk about the don't talk, don't trust, and don't feel cycle that goes on within dysfunctional families, and how to get free from those don't talk, don't trust, and don't feel series. Display sadness is the next article. In this article, I talk about how people have a tendency to project their issues on other people, that they don't deal with their feelings. They make us responsible for their hurts and their trauma, or the adversity or the pain that they have in their lives that are not able to deal, process, or address. In this article on display sadness, I talk about how we can be free from allowing their display sadness to impact our lives in negative ways. And if you're dealing with a disability that has an invisible nature to it, such as my brain injuries has an invisible nature to my disability, and there are many other types of disabilities that have an invisible nature to them that people can't see, so they don't think that it exists. In this article, I talk a four-part article series called "My Struggle with My Invisible Disability and Invisible Disability." In this, I talk about there are four different groups of people that we encounter: people that don't want to understand, people that make light of, people that want us to just go away, and then there are people that accept who we are as our invisible disability, with our disability. I have several friends that embrace and love me for who I am because they realize that the nature of the invisible disability of a traumatic brain injury impacts my life in ways that other people can't really understand, and they validate my reality, which I really appreciate. And in the next series is having an invisible disability, the consequences of denying my reality. In this article series, I talk about the importance of looking at and addressing the qualities or the nature of my invisible disability so I don't buy into other people's denial system or get sucked back into a denial system that leads me to believe that I don't have an invisible disability. And the next series is a traumatic brain injury in the identified patient, which is a two-part series. In this two-part series, I talk about how we as individuals in dysfunctional families or families where there's unresolved pain or conflict or secrets that are not talked about, that the individual within the family, such as who grew up, say, as myself in the position of a scapegoat, I took on the responsibility for other people's issues. I felt responsible for making people okay so that we could be okay, so I could be okay, which is toxic codependency, which is shame-based. In this series, I talk about how we can get free from being the identified patient within family systems and other relationships with significant others, and in our relationships with bullies, as they will invariably make us the identified patient or the problem, which is clearly not the case. We're not the problem. If people are trying to make us the problem, it's their problem. It's their issue. We need to be responsible for ourselves, take accountability, make amends wherever possible, when to do so, except when to do so would injure others. And we need to be honest with ourselves and honest in our relationships and truthful and kind. And when we're not, we need to make amends. I believe that's what I believe I need to do. And then in several more, there is how fast are you running? In this series, I talk about how we can avoid having to deal with issues, but as long as we avoid having to deal with the issues, we impede our ability to be free from the issues that we are running from. And then what is keeping you stuck? I talk about shame in this issue and how we can get free from the effects of shame that have upon our lives. And then in the final article, among the articles, is whose temperature are you taking? In this article, I talk about how we have a tendency, or I've had a tendency in the past, is to determine how I'm doing based on how other people are doing. And if they're not doing well, then it's my responsibility to make them okay. And I elaborate and talk about how we can be free from the feeling responsible for taking other people's stuff or issues or pain or anguish or uh, feelings of abuse, feelings of victimhood. I talk about how we can be free from those issues so that we don't feel trapped and isolated and alienated. And by doing all these things, by looking at these issues, we can be free, find freedom from the impact of the bullies that are in our life. Because through knowledge, we can find freedom, because the knowledge that we gain builds confidence in knowing that we're not the problem. Because as a traumatic brain injury survivor and as someone who lived with an invisible disability for the majority of my life, I found myself being placed in a category of it was my fault. So as I continue to be honest with myself and make amends wherever possible, and continue to work on my issues through journaling and, as I said, going to support groups, talking to trusted friends, and being honest with myself, open and willing, then I can find freedom so that I'm not allowing other people to bully me because of my lack of awareness. Awareness allows me to get to a place of acceptance, and the acceptance allows me to get to a place of action, because action allows me to take steps that cause my self-confidence, my self-esteem, and my feelings of self-worth and value to increase. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this video presentation and watching me. I look forward to future video presentations here on YouTube. I know this particular one probably is running late or long. I hope to hear back from you, and I will say